3 or 4 months.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. At this time, are there any additions or addendums to the agenda?
Madam Chair, the only thing I'm seeing is superintendent goals are under superintendent report. And if the board wants to approve those goals tonight, we need to place that under action items.
So my question to the board is, would you like the superintendent to discuss the goals and then have an action item of voting on the goals?
So my question is, these are the goals in which we set forth last meeting?
Superintendent goals.
Superintendent goals, because
Okay.
you guys set the district goals.
Right.
And so I'm trying to align mine with yours.
And so have we gone through those yet?
There's an attachment in here.
I saw that.
Yeah, this will be the first night you've seen it.
I think we should discuss them and just go through them first and then,
Okay,
Well, I think that's why we leave it in the superintendent section and put an action item also
Yes.
for at the bottom.
yes.
Okay, so we will add an action item of
it
G.
would be
action
11C.
11C, superintendent goals. Any other adjustments or addendums? Great, hearing no additions, we will approve the agenda. Our first, just a
Mhm.
second, our first is, I guess, Mr. Vincent Adams presenting the superintendent search calendar for us. Welcome.
hello.
Hello, Vincent.
Deb, can I
Sure.
hand that to you to present what you guys have worked with since you've been partnering?
I
We
can't,
haven't-
I haven't really talked to him
Okay.
that much.
We haven't talked that much.
Okay,
So Chair Follett, Superintendent Gallagher, Al Seaboard, it is a delight to be with you. Sorry, I skidded in a little bit late. So I have a search calendar for you. Hot off the presses.
That's why you're late, huh?
thank you.
Yeah, we won't say it wasn't quite done yesterday.
You are one of 4 searches that I did.
Nice.
So I emailed him and
Mhm.
he's busy. He's a busy.
Yes, he is.
All right. Thank you for your patience in allowing me to get this to you in a timely manner. Coordinating multiple searches simultaneously is a tricky thing to do. And so, but we've managed to do it. And so there are 3 things that to start this process of doing the search. There are 3 things that I need from the board tonight. And I think some of them have already been done. Has the board declared the seat vacant at a future date, like June 30th?
I do not believe so.
No.
So that's one of the things that we're going to need to get done.
Mhm.
The other is, has the board formally retained OSBA or made a choice to retain OSBA?
Yes.
That vote has happened. And then the last one will be to approve this draft calendar, search calendar. So by doing those 3 actions will allow the board to enter executive session for the purpose of doing search processes. Not really urgent, but we like to get it done ahead of time, early in the process. So we just have that ability under statute. So what you have before you is a draft calendar. Now, of course, September 22nd, it is September 22nd, so we can't change that date. But the rest of these dates, except for a couple here, are we can shift this calendar around. So even though that the board will approve this calendar, and which allows you to start the search process, that doesn't mean it's written in stone. This is a plan, and every plan gets shifted. So I'd like to walk through this with you, so you know what you're getting yourself into and what the steps in this process are. So here we are, September 22nd. Those 3 actions are built into that. Once we've done that, the next piece is going to be, developing a survey that the district will send out to the community to determine the qualities and qualifications for the chief administrator for your district. So that's the next step in this process. So you'll notice in the next line from September 28th to October 19th, there will be an online survey available. We'll collect that data from the community. I'll go ahead and do that, look at the data, and based on that, I'm going to come back with suggested qualities and qualifications. On October 27th, that is one of your scheduled meetings. We're going to go through that data. You're going to settle on what the qualities and qualifications will be. And that's important because that's what's going to go into the marketing material for the position. So in an interim process, when we abbreviate that, we go ahead and publish the position first, and then do the qualities and qualifications on the fly. And then we use it during the screening process. In this, we get to have a more extended and lengthy process that makes more sense. So the next piece there on the 27th is setting the date for the screening committee training. The screening committee is going to be comprised of members of the community and staff that are going to review applicant materials and provide feedback to the board. The decision for choosing the chief administrator is solely the board's. So the screening committee doesn't get to vote. They don't have it participate in the selection process, but they do provide you information. So it's just more eyes on the application material. They will also sit in on the interview process. They'll be silent observers of the interview process. You'll also be identifying potential screening committee members, and I will provide you with the salary analysis, and you will be choosing the salary range, which will be important for the marketing material. Okay. Any questions about that meeting? With that information, we'll go ahead and develop the position material. This will be it won't be a full national search. We reach about 2/3 of the nation. So it might by viral distribution get, to places where we're not directly marketing, but it will be a very broad search. I can report that we have 3 interim searches in process right now. All 3 have gotten good applicant pools. So I'm feeling really positive about your search.
Nice.
So there are people out there, even right now, which is, we're out of season right now for superintendent searches. Even so, we're still getting applicants. So, and those are for interim positions. So I'm feeling really positive. So we'll go ahead and market that position, and we'll go ahead and start accepting applications. December 15th, that is another one of your scheduled meetings. You're going to want to go ahead and nail down who's going to be on your screening committee.
That's the question here.
Yeah, you bet.
We're selecting screening committee members. So actually back up to the October 27th meeting. Is there something in the survey that they say, I'd like to be on that screening committee? Do we ask them to submit names to our board secretary? Do we just advertise that on our website? What's the usual process for that?
Usually the board, and I would say also the sitting to acting superintendent, they handpick who's going to be on the screening committee. So you're going to want staff members, you're going to want, administrators involved, people who have experience with doing selections.
How do we get them there? Do they fill out a form or send in a
I would
formal letter of how to do it?
I would reach out to them directly.
So
Oh,
the board could put together an email to all staff, essentially.
You could do it that
and
way.
ask
he's
if
talking
there's
hand
interest.
picking, right? You just
I'm
go and
talking
say,
about hand picking.
Would you like to be on this?
I think what he's talking about is hand picking according to,
Yeah.
you want to hand pick your committee. So you have a good sample of the district and the community. I think that's what he's referring.
And we're looking for a selection committee of about 12 to 15 people.
And they're gonna get to see all the applicants resumes and information.
Correct.
They also sign a confidentiality agreement, correct?
We don't make them sign them. No, yes, they do.
was
I
gonna
take it back.
say,
Yes, we
I
do.
Feel like
I
Yes,
think
we do.
did.
They should.
I am now that I'm recalling.
Yes.
It's been a while. It's been a whole year since I've done one. So it was this time last year when I was doing my last one. So yes, they do. In fact, it's part of the screening committee training, which is it on this one? Yeah, it is. So that's the January. I don't have my glasses. Wait, did I bring glasses? I did. Good for
Selecting
me.
screening is December 15th.
Yeah, no,
No,
No.
the fifth, the training.
January 5th. Attend screening committee training.
Uh-oh, we have a problem.
What's the problem?
I'm in Hawaii that day.
You can do that virtually.
Okay,
We did searches all through the pandemic. Much of this can be done virtually.
okay.
In fact, when we get to interviews, I'll recommend that you do virtual interviews.
Well, I'd really like to work with you hand in hand with this so I could learn the process.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'd really like to go through these steps with you.
Okay. Well, I will keep you close at hand.
Sorry, I'm seeing several of you. My glasses are so dirty.
That's why I'm looking over mine. Okay, so we're planning to have this position open for 8 weeks. If we aren't getting the response that we want, then we will revise our calendar and extend it. Okay, so like I said, this is not written in stone. That screening committee training, that teaches people, the ins and outs of screening applicants. We try our best to remove as much bias out of our process as we can. There's lots of different biases. I used to do searches at the university, and my goodness, that person who went to the same college I went to, that was, people we implicitly bias. If someone a
Gotta be
beaver
good.
and that person's a beaver, oh well, then they got to be okay, right? So you can see how bias can find its way into that. Ultimately, we want to get the very best candidate, the very best person for your kids.
Yes.
So-
What's the time frame on that training so we can let people know when we ask them to be on?
It's a couple hours. Yeah, a couple hours long. On the outside, probably more like an hour and a half. At that meeting, you're going to have your screening committee there. We're going to review the list of candidates. And I will remind you throughout to start setting up your contract parameters. That's going to be, salary, your compensation. I will harp on you on that because you want to get it done and have that set, because when you pick your finalists, you actually identify that person, you want to be able to go into negotiations immediately so you can nail them down.
So I'm gonna ask a question there. So in the past, the contract was written by the board chair without any transparency.
Okay.
So I don't feel like that's how we want to proceed, but what's common practice so that we know really how we should be proceeding when we look at contract parameters and making sure that this team is on the same page.
Yes, I think that, this board should get the contract, take a look at it, read it through. You'll want to have a legal review of the contract as well.
I think we did that with Rutherford, didn't we? Have her look at the contract.
Yep.
Yes. And I
Yeah.
think COSA and I think OSBA actually. I think there was a few people that looked at the contract.
Yeah, I mean, definitely Hungerford is a very common one. Nancy or Joel can do that work for you.
Yeah.
And they'll do a really good job. Okay. So then the screening committee and the board will take a step back over January 6th through the 11th, and where you're actually going to screen those applications. And the screening committee is going to be providing rankings. We'll go through that process of how they do that. That'll be part of the screening training. It'll all make sense that they'll have to rank all the applicants. Flipping to the other side.
So I just had one quick question on that. So does the screening committee, they don't actually get to meet the applicants. They just get to read their applications.
Materials, yes. The only time that they should meet the candidates is in the interviews.
Okay.
Now, this is that can be a problematic point, particularly in small towns, particularly if you have applicants that may be in nearby communities. Yeah, people might bump into other people.
Okay.
And so we want to avoid that. And so if that does happen, we'll instruct them to not talk about the search process. It's fine to meet them at a football game, just don't talk about the search.
Okay.
January 17th, this is one of those dates that I can't move because I have two other districts that I'll be in Neoconi on the 16th. I'll be with you on the 17th, and I'm going to Burns on the 18th. So I have to, this is a hard date. I've got to hold on to it.
Okay.
So this is where the board is going to select which candidates you're going to interview. So we're going to do some prioritization. We're going to develop that interview schedule that we'll be executing on that. If you look down a little bit further, January 28th through the 31st, that's a 4-day window where we can choose when we're going to do interviews. We have to negotiate that because we have to get all the screening committee members to line up. We got to get all the applicants to line up on 1 or 2 days. Sometimes we have to do that on the weekend. So you'll notice that I think 2 of these days are on the weekend. So I built that in because some folks just aren't able to meet during the week. So yeah, we may have to work on a Saturday or Sunday to do these interviews. Be prepared for that. Okay, going back so that interview schedule, we're going to develop those interview questions. I will give you those materials. We have a lot of stock questions, but you'll want to think about what are your interests, and then we'll go ahead and nail down what those questions are. And then you'll notice again, a reminder to establish contract parameters. So in between January 17th and doing the interviews, you will be doing internet and social media searches on these individuals, on the folks that you want to interview. So yes, you will go cyber stalk them. You're going to look and try and dig up any dirt that you can find, the good and the bad and the ugly. And then we'll embed, and if something turns up, usually doesn't, but sometimes it does, and it's a concern for the board, then we'll go ahead and incorporate that into the interview process. We'll go ahead and do those interviews. At the end of the interview process, if we do it on 2 different days, we'll do, say you have 4 applicants, we'll do 2 on one day and 2 on the second day. At the end of the second day, that'll be a long night, because after we do those interviews will be 30 minutes long each. After that, then we're going to go ahead and, choose who we're going to bring back as finalists. Okay. If we're lucky, we can do them all in one day, and it's just one big long day, and it would be great if we could manage that, but it usually doesn't work out. You're going to select those finalists, and that's it. So between the interviews and the finalist forum, you're going to be doing reference checks. This is when you're going to go ahead and pick up the phone, and you're going to call references. And then you're going to ask for referrals from those references for other people that you want to talk to. If the board would like to go do site visits, where you go to that superintendent's district and talk to people there, then that's the time when you'll be doing that. In the pandemic, that wasn't happening, and it seems like it's kind of tapered off. People just don't seem to be wanting to do site visits, but it has been a pretty enduring practice. I don't know, Sean.
50-50.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just kind of hit and miss.
Yeah.
I really like that idea.
Yeah, I mean, you can talk to principals, teachers, EAs, custodians, doesn't matter. Lunch lady, whoever it is.
I
Get
really
real
like that
stories.
idea. I'll do
Yep.
that.
Well, I think
Okay.
all of us will, we would all probably want to do that, wouldn't we?
I do.
I mean, not in a forum by any means, but
Right.
So over February 15th to the 16th, we're gonna hold, the day in the community. We're gonna invite these candidates to ALSI. And we had, they get to meet folks in the school. They get to go walk the campus. You'll probably meet them for lunch. And then we will have a community forum where they will, the community will be there. I'll go ahead and take questions on 3x5 cards. I'll go ahead and interview the candidate for about 25 or 30 minutes with those questions. And then after that, we'll release them. And then the board will go ahead and deliberate on who your finalist, your real finalist, the person you'd like to negotiate a contract with. That's a pretty long day. Depending on the number of folks you want to bring in, you just don't know what we're going to get. But often it's 2 candidates that we bring in, sometimes as many as 4. I've wrangled 4. It's crazy because you try to not have the candidates bump into each other, and it's a bit of a
4 is really messy.
it's tough.
It's really tough.
So
Sounds like 4 would be messy to deliberate on them too.
So yeah, when doing that, we'll need help from staff, guiding people around and things like that. We'll need essentially chaperones to guide them around because they don't know their way around. They might want to see the town, things like that. And we'll need to think about what we want to show them. Okay. That will be a long day because you are going to choose who your the person that you want to choose, or at least you will rank them. Then right after that, you will want to go into contract negotiations. So the board will designate one of you to negotiate. We choose one person because if there's 2, then you have a board committee and it has to happen in a public meeting. So we designate one person to negotiate, and that's why you always have your contract parameters prepared and ready to go. They know what the script is, they know what they can offer, and they go into negotiations. In the searches I've done, it's never really been a hitch. It usually goes down in 24 to 48 hours. But we've allowed about a week here for that to unfold. If the negotiation is successful and everybody agrees, then on February 27th, you'd go ahead and come back and ratify the contract and approve the contract, and you have a superintendent. And then we go into the transition process. So we'll go ahead and help you with developing a transition plan. And that's one of the features of doing this with OSBA is that we train the board and superintendent. You get up to 9 hours of training associated with the search. It's called a transition plan, and we just train. You've already received some of the training that you would normally get, but it's really around just communication protocols and setting expectations. They would also be engaging with COSA, so they're going to get mentorship from COSA at the same time. And then they would start their position on July 1st. Okay. Any questions? It's actually a lot of fun to do. It's a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun.
These are the only questions or the only things I see we need to adjust our action items tonight to include a vacancy vote and approval of an executive approval of this calendar. Are you comfortable, even though January 5th is TBD, are you comfortable just trying to attend virtually, or what are the dates that you're gone?
We're gone December 28th through January 9th. For 2 weeks.
So virtually, you're okay
Oh
with
yeah, I'll
that?
take my computer with me.
Yeah, it'll be a little odd because it'll be after midday for you if you're in Hawaii.
It's an hour behind us. Hawaii is.
Okay.
Kona, I think is 2, isn't it?
Awesome.
Yeah,
So not bad.
I'll take you guys out on the beach. You can sit with
Make us
on the
jealous.
Oh,
Outstanding.
Make us jealous.
In the dead of winter, you torture
I'm
us.
sorry, it's only 80 here.
Oh, my
That's
goodness.
brutal, isn't it? It's not even very nice.
So. We need to just add those two items to our action items to discuss.
Declare the
Sorry, to declare the
vacancy.
vacancy and approve executive search process calendar.
On 11,
Yeah, 11,
D.
D and E. Thank you for having us all organized.
Oh, you're gonna make those motions later. Okay, great.
We'll make them, oh,
Is there anything else that I can do to be of service to the board?
No, but I'll have your number on speed dial. So we can
Yes,
talk.
ma'am.
Thank you.
I can come get lunch and we can talk search stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sounds good. It's good to see you guys.
You too.
good to see you.
I'm looking
Thank
forward
you.
to working with you. It's gonna
Yeah.
be fun.
It's gonna be fun. Okay, I'll get out of your hair.
Thanks,
So
Vince.
Thank you.
we're adding the action item for declaring the vacancy and approving the calendar.
Mhm.
Good night, guys.
Good
Good
night.
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 All right. Up next, I have district recognition.
Mhm. First up is Madam Chair is Learn at Home. And I do believe Mr. France has some
Yes.
presentations.
All right. So we get to actually have two recognitions. We get a staff one and we also have a student one. We like to do our student one first. And it's kind of a unique situation. And what we want to do is showcase this and what our assistant principal has, Ms. Shunk, has been working with this mom on some stuff. And she really has showcased why is Learn at Home special for their family. And they actually have made this short video. So Ms. Shunk, I'm gonna turn it over to you if Nathan can. Awesome. So Ms. Shunk, you can go ahead and take it away.
All right. Well, good evening, everyone. It's so nice to see you and nice to be here at the meeting. So Tim and I were very lucky to meet Rebecca, mom Rebecca, and daughter Emma, a first grader from our school recently. And she shared with us how magical she makes her daughter's day at school. So this is kind of like a highlight for parent magic and how it impacts just so nicely for her student or for her child. So her daughter Emma noticed other kids going on the bus and kind of going to school and said, hey, I really want to have those pieces in my day too here at home. And so Rebecca, and by the way, she is here tonight. Rebecca created an entire, actually she made a school bus for her. She bought a school bus on Amazon, not a school bus, but you'll see it in this video. And she picks her up in the morning and she walks her around the house and drops her off at her specific classroom setting that they created together. And she creates beautiful lunches for her and just really makes her day very special. And we are really excited to share this creativity with all of our parents at Learn at Home and how to maximize that experience at home and make the day really special. So without further ado, I'm going to share this beautiful video that Rebecca created to share with all of you. Hopefully you can see it. So she takes her lunch and puts it in a special cubby for her. Emma has a backpack, grabs her lunch, and now she's waiting for her bus to show up, and her mom is the bus driver.
Oh my gosh.
And they go through the house. They have a very specific route that they take. And then here comes the bus to drop off Emma for a wonderful day at school. She has a very organized routine with her backpack. And she has that beautiful, now I have to stop share. She has that beautiful desk that's very organized, and they worked on this together. And Emma is a first grader. And it's just was really impressive. And we're really excited to share this with all of our families and to share this with the board so that you can see magic that's happening at Learn at Home. Also, Rebecca is here and was happy to answer any questions, or if you have any thoughts, you can send me questions and I can include those and send those to her as well. All right, so I'm going to now hand it over to Cheryl for a very special presentation as well.
Yeah, and as you are just ending, I'd like to thank Rebecca for making that video, and for our student Emma for helping make Learn at Home very special. And it is a great opportunity for kids to kind of see how it can be. And so online can be a whole lot of fun. And I really appreciate you guys being a good example that we're going to try to use that in some of our social media stuff. So thank you.
Thanks.
All
Good
right.
evening. Good evening, everybody. I'm Cheryl Doe, the Special Education Director, and I have the honor tonight to present to someone at Learn at Home, one of our teachers. So, you know, doing online education in special education is always a mystery to people. And we have some very seasoned, very quality special educators, both online and in the building. We're very fortunate at LC to have that because there's quite a shortage in the state right now. So we would like to present Leslie Bozer, who is our foundations teacher, along with another teacher. They have the kids in the school that are a little more severe disabilities and need a lot of attention. So Leslie builds great rapport with her families. The kids love her. She's creative in that classroom, and she spends a lot of time and dedication helping not only the students, but her peers and administration. She's just all around a fantastic employee for us. So we want to celebrate Leslie this evening as our Teacher of the Month at Learn at Home.
Yay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Leslie.
I guess I just want to say I really enjoy working for the LC School District. This is my first time. I've been in the education since 2008. And this is the first school district that I feel like I have that opportunity to grow. And I just really enjoy the environment I work in with all of the staff. So thank you.
Leslie.
And students.
We know.
So Leslie, this is Mr. Gallagher, your superintendent. Can you tell us where you're calling from, where you reside right now?
I currently live in St. Helens, Oregon.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. I was gonna say I've actually been to the school district a couple of times, and I've really also enjoyed being there in the building and getting to meet all the staff there as well.
Well, good job,
And
Leslie.
students.
We appreciate
you.
what you're doing.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks,
you,
Mr.
guys.
France.
Thank you.
One thing we've been talking about administratively is that there's such a different world between brick and mortar and Learn at Home. And oftentimes people don't get much exposure to Learn at Home, but I think that was a great video of how there's still a transition. You know, we have a lot of parents that are working at home now. And in fact, the guy that I'm renting my place from, he walks from his house to his shop where he has an office every morning, you know, and he has his cup of coffee and he goes to work. And then he comes back about 5 o'clock, you know, empty coffee cup. And so it's that transition. It's just a different environment for these kids. So thank you, Mr. France, for highlighting all that. I know you put some effort into that. Okay, for a brick and mortar recognition, there's a couple of things I would like to honor tonight. One is Mary O'Brien. Mary, can you come up and join us? only been here for a short time, but Mary has been just an absolute trooper. Being able to watch her teach the kids in art and music, I'm just on the other side of the wall here. It's really fun to listen to her and what she's doing, and I walk through class all the time. But I also want to recognize Mary for the work she did this summer in terms of this library. She spent the entire summer going through books and trying to isolate the ones that just haven't been used anymore. And she's organized the book sale, which was a great gift. We have a nice open house, and we're trying to take the proceeds from the book sale and buy new books. So that is a heavy lift for us. Whole summer. We initially thought it'd take a couple weeks. The deeper she dug, the more. So I just want to say good job, Mary. Nice job, and I just want to say we appreciate it. Oh, we got-
You have to go on the wall.
Signing.
Thank you. Good job. Last but not least, this person has no idea we're going to present this, so Linda Montez. Please come around here. We've got a special situation for you. And I gotta say, this is coming directly from Mr. Crow. He learned the other day that she was missing her sash from 1967 that stated she is prom queen.
Oh, wow.
So Mr. Crow made sure he made one so we can present them. Congratulations.
I did.
So next up, we have our superintendent report, Mr. Gallagher. Pick us up.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think the first thing we can talk about is superintendent goals, and you have a Word document there that you can pull up and see. Looking at the district goals and what the board approved the last board meeting, I wanted to mimic it as closely as possible, but also differentiate on student achievement. As a part of student achievement this year, we have to be working with LBL ESD and implementing the what is called Aligning for Student Success project. Mr. France and I attended some training on this last spring. It's a very lengthy process where they're trying to take 6 different projects that the state is requiring and has been requiring for a lot of time now, and combine it into one big project. Because there's a lot of overlap. There's a lot of duplication amongst the different 6 projects. Embedded in this is our continuous improvement plan. And we've been talking about that for a while now. And this is the project that's going to align the district with its continuous improvement plan, the student investment account, the high school success program, the career and technical education program, Everyday Matters, and also early indicator intervention systems. And it's all rolled in together. And so this takes the district goal of, establishing, senior projects and things like that, and just kind of makes it into something even bigger. And we have to do this anyway. So I thought this would be a great goal for me to take on for the superintendency. The other 2 goals I just left the same. I think just direct alignment. The communications plan, I've already started working with our new public information officer on that. And there's going to be more development as we continue, as well as the budget development. So I wanted to align those directly with what the district had. So that will be up for you to consider in terms of approving later on. I'm certainly open to ideas, thoughts. I know they're heavy lift goals, but it's very valuable work that just simply needs to be done.
Thank you. I think you're on a roll for a little bit.
Okay, all right, I'll keep going. District priority projects. You guys have seen this before. This memo originated in the middle of June, and it's just a matter of me continuing to update you on where we're at with this. One of them is board policy development. You're going to see a policy tonight on head lice. Sorry, I drew blank there for a second. On head lice,
Scratch.
yeah, as I scratched my head. It's not part of the official policy revision project, but it was one that we pulled out and we said, you know, we need to address this sooner than later. So just plan on being a part of a lot of policy development in the next 6 to 8 months, because we'll be throwing a lot of stuff at you. Effective and efficient board meetings. We've been working with OSBA on that as a team. And I know we have another work session scheduled for the Saturday. We've talked about the superintendent evaluation process, and we're moving forward with that. In terms of school improvement, there's that SIP plan, the continuous improvement plan, and with the line for student success that we just talked about. Also, we have a charter review in the hopper that we don't know exactly what OSBA's timeline will be, but they'll be sending a team to work with us. In terms of just updating and revising our current charter to make sure it reflects exactly what we're wanting to see in that charter. There's increased communications. We've already talked about a lot of that. I did host a fireside chat a couple of weeks ago. Had one customer, and hey, that's better than none, and that's all right. You know, they start kind of slow. So we'll be doing more fireside chats. And again, it's just an opportunity for people to come, and I present a little bit update on the district, and for them to question if they have questions, and I'll try and answer them the best I can.
Can you post those dates out there? I didn't.
You know, I haven't determined what those dates are yet.
Okay.
We just kind of randomly had one and see what kind of interest there was, but I have not established those dates yet.
Okay.
So I probably should.
Yeah, even just maybe a couple days notice, so then we can get it out there to the public.
So
right?
the last
Yeah.
one, it was about a week.
Oh, for some reason I missed that
I think
one.
there
Yeah,
might
we
have been
had-
a family emergency.
We had it out for a week.
Yeah,
There was that one.
yeah. It was about a week or something.
Yeah.
But I think we could, but I think it speaks to that transparency. We can still do a better job. I mean, we
Yeah.
can still work on.
So I'll put some dates together and we can get those out so people can put it on the calendars.
Yeah, because I know a few people that would be interested in that.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it's just, it's a good time. It really is. And if it's just a handful of people, that's fine too. Doesn't have to be a ton of people, just an opportunity to interact and some question and answer, and you know, seeing what is on people's minds. Personnel, we have another update on the hierarchical chart that Nicole's been working on. I haven't brought it to the board yet. But also I want to keep in mind that next week, the Secretary of State is sending an audit team per the ODE audit notification we received. And they're going to be looking at financial as well as performance issues. And this is all stemming from the complaints they got before I arrived at ODE. But for the Secretary of State to take this on, I was talking to one of our attorneys today, and they said that's really big. So we'll see where it goes, but we're opening the books and saying, what do you want to look at? And we'll just see where things go. But the hierarchical chart is a part of that audit. They want to see what the hierarchical chart is. So that's why that's so important. HR reset, we're still working on things as we progress. Myself and Lorraine have been evaluating the teacher contracts. I looked at them again today, and we have some things we have to follow up on before we actually release them. And then job descriptions are pretty much done, and I need to get those out for people to take a look at. And then after that, we'll be working on the support staff contracts. And I'll be bringing a package to the board in terms of salary adjustments, in terms of recommendations based upon the data analysis we've done and the comparison analysis. And so that's kind of where we at with that project. It's still, it's a heavy lift. Hires, every time we have somebody who vacates their position, we're still evaluating in terms of natural attrition. Also part of the HR reset, we're restoring our staff evaluations process in accordance with state law. We'll be working with the union on that. We're also reauthoring the faculty handbook. And that gives a list of, expectations and position classifications and a lot of those different things that just from the HR standpoint is really good for staff to see. We are starting the teacher mentoring program. Tim Pearson will be leading that and has already gone to some training on that. We have negotiations coming up with certified union. Budget, we are still implementing the checks and balances. I think it's a surprise to people when they see me reject some of these requisitions. And it's just a matter of, we need to be making sure we're keeping our eye on the ball, and we're making sure that we're spending money in accordance to contracts, in accordance to obligations, and making sure we have the needs of the district taken care of. We're still working on the sustainability of the budget. We will know a little bit more answers after the HR reset project is pretty much complete. And Lorraine and I are probably gonna be bringing a mid-year supplementary budget to the board, probably January-ish. Because as we move forward with the budget we developed last spring, there's still a lot of surprises that have come up. And we want to make sure we're staying within scope of where the budget should be as we move things around in the correct file cabinet drawers, as an analogy. Programs, one of the big ones we're going to be doing is converting our student information system to a new platform called Synergy. And this is through LBL ESD. Lincoln County School District has already done this. It's basically a 2-year process. And there's going to be a lot of training and a lot of mock-ups this year by our staff, our support staff, our admin team. And everybody says it's a heavy lift, but once we get used to it and get it going, it provides data analysis in terms of managing our students, their academic progress, graduation requirements, their CUME files and folders, everything.
So may I ask a
Mhm.
question? So that's an internal communication program as well,
It's where student grades would reside, attendance would reside.
but all the teachers
Test
and
scores.
everybody can go there.
Yes,
So it's an internal communication.
yes. Yeah, there's a lot of confidentiality around that data, so we have to be careful who has access to what.
Yeah.
You know, discipline data would be in there for student discipline reasons, and not everybody would have access to that. That's only a few select people. IEP information would be integrated in that for special ed purposes. So it's kind of a one-stop shopping for all the data that surrounds our students. And we're trying to get away from these big, thick files that take forever to go through, or to duplicate, or to send to the next school. And this really incorporates, encapsulates everything. And so we'll keep you posted on that, because I haven't dived into it myself yet. And I'm very anxious to see. In our superintendent meetings today, we were talking about the transition and the process. And it'll take some time, but I think it's going to be good in the end.
So just for our understanding, what is the draw for moving from what we have to Synergy? What's the benefit that we're seeing from that?
Kind of like we don't buy a Model T Ford pickup anymore.
So the one we have
know,
today is just straight
it's-
outdated.
I wouldn't say it's outdated, but
Okay.
it's not doing the job that Synergy is capable of doing.
Okay.
And it allows us to improve our data management surrounding our students, because as complexities continue to increase with state and federal requirements, we're looking at more data that's disseminated according to, ethnicity or socioeconomic groups. It's a better tool that allows us to dive deeper into what's going on with little Johnny or little Susie. What's the trend there? What kind of interventions do we need to create for this student or this child? You will also have health management records in there. Maybe you have a severe diabetic student that has certain parameters. It used to be where you had a separate medical file. Well, sometimes people have access to it, sometimes it wouldn't, but on Synergy, it'll be all be rolled in together. So you have access to that information. Easier access, and you can do more in-depth analysis with it. In terms of curriculum, we went through our math textbook adoption process already, and we ordered the textbooks. They are here now. Teachers are using them, and a little bit of a transition for students and staff. It's more modernization of, integrating technology and those sorts of things. And, but I think it's really going to be good. And we're still working on ramping up the language arts textbook adoption Lori Greenfield is leading that process for us. State and federal reports. We have a lot that is coming up in regards to title, special ed, assessments. We just received our embargoed state assessments data from last spring, and it's going to be unembargoed as of tomorrow, and we'll be having a report at the next board meeting. Anna DeBoard, who's our district testing coordinator this year, and I will be presenting the state results at that point. But that has a direct implementation with state and federal reports. Also, we're keeping track of our student data appropriately. So when it's time to submit it to the state, we'll be complying with those requirements. I've already talked about the charter facilities. You guys, well, you'll have a bond update here in just a second. Seismic application. They opened up this current round of seismic applications, and I'll be contacting an engineering firm hopefully early next week to help us just put a different twist on the application that was already submitted the last couple of years. I think they can do a better job for us. It's an organization I've worked with for years, and they've been extremely successful with seismic. And then you all know about the new superintendent search. So that's kind of my report on where we at in terms of the district.
Sorry, I have one question back.
Sure.
The negotiations with the certified staff.
Yep.
I haven't gotten dates yet on when that will be.
We have not set dates yet.
Okay.
The team, the union saw that the board approved opening negotiations on those 3 articles. And so they're preparing their presentation for us. I checked in with the president this last week, and they will let us know when they're ready to present that to our negotiations team.
And do we have a negotiations team?
Mhm.
Who is that?
Right.
And myself and Lorraine.
Was that decided in August?
Yeah, I don't know. That's what it'll be. So there'll be administration at the table and the 2 of us at the table, and then it'll come back to the board.
Right. Okay, any other questions on that? Legislative Roadshow, you'll see a memo there. Keep in mind, that's one major area for board involvement is legislative stuff. LBL ESD will be hosting a Benton, Lincoln, and Lynn County's Legislative Roadshow on Monday, October 17th at the Albany Public School District office. Dinner starts at 5:45 p.m. The meeting starts at 6. I'm not sure how many of you attended a legislative roadshow in the past. It's a great time for you to meet the legislative team from OSBA, get an update and debrief on what they're looking at in terms of possible legislation. Usually there's hundreds of bills that are presented to the legislatures every year that have to do with public education. And that's something we all want to be aware of and express our support and or concerns to OSBA, who then interpret they are lobbyists, really. And that's the capacity they serve in for us. And so they want to know what different school board members are thinking across the state. Always school funding is one of the big items. That's always a huge political debate, but there's lots of other things that could definitely affect schools in positive and sometimes not so positive manners. So it's important that you're up to speed on those sorts of things. If all 5 of you wanted to attend, you certainly could. We just couldn't sit together and have a quorum, but let Shirley know if you're interested in attending. We can certainly carpool if you would like to. Don't have to. We can just meet you there. But usually OSBA likes to know how many people are coming so they know how much food to prepare and seating and those sorts of things. All right, then celebrate National School Lunch Week. So National School Lunch Week is October 10th through 14th. So they're officially inviting school board members and superintendents to eat with students and experience their local school lunches. And so if you're interested in joining, again, just email Shirley and we'll make sure we get you on the schedule and come and have a meal with the students. Okay, bond update. We decided to just handle the bond update tonight with Ryan and I. Ryan and I participated in our weekly bond meeting yesterday. And the word we were getting from our contractor is any of the GMP numbers that they would have had for us tonight are still soft. And we said that's really not the wish of the board. The wish of the board is to have hard numbers before we take any action on any of the GMPs. So they are making progress. And I know it's still patience is the key. In regards to securing a project manager, I've been working with LBL ESD. Remember, we have Dave McKay as our consultant, and we secured him not going to Dave McKay specifically, or what we did is an intergovernmental agreement with LBL to secure his services. Well, we're looking at a very similar thing, presenting that option to the board next meeting to secure HMK, which is David McKay, as our project manager. That way, the LBL ESD has already done all the work. That shortens our timeline. Dave is already aware of our project, up to speed with our project, and we feel that he could just get right in and get rolling and really help us out. Ryan, you got other things you would like to add?
No, just with their timeline, they did get numbers in yesterday. That's why it was soft numbers, because CV didn't get a chance to look at them yet and feel comfortable with those numbers. So they told that the numbers were due yesterday and they got them in, but CV needed to go through those numbers and make sure that they were appropriate. And Dave thought the same thing.
So maybe next week.
So that's kind of what we
Yeah.
were thinking. There might have to be if the numbers are good and we can move ahead to get this process going, we might have to have a meeting.
We may have to. And we also asked David McKay to take a look at those numbers too. I think just another set of eyeballs on this, even as just in a consultant role, would really be helpful to us.
Are those numbers, are they all the numbers now? Would they be just a component, or would that give us the HVAC, electrical?
Mhm.
So it would be
That's
all
what-
of, we would have,
That's what they're working on, right?
it would be
I
one.
know the
GM.
HVAC for sure.
Yes.
They got the numbers. The electrical, I don't know, we might have to, if Andy is on there about the because he didn't talk a whole lot about the electrical.
That's true.
But the HVAC for sure.
Okay.
Yep.
So maybe touch base with Andy and see if they have the
Yeah.
soft numbers for the electrical. So then that way,
Andy, would you like to join and comment a little bit? You certainly are invited to if you'd like.
I don't know how to raise my hand, but I hit the unmute button.
We can
That's
hear
good.
you.
We can hear you.
And sometimes you train a bear, you got to be careful.
So
Um,
Andy, the question was just, I think just a status update in terms of the numbers.
The
You know,
electrical.
and the electrical.
Yeah, the numbers that we spoke of yesterday, we had 2 numbers in on mechanical, just the mechanical portion only. And the electrical material supply, the panel boards and all that came in from the contact that Richard Olson gave us. Today, we got the electrical budgeting numbers completed from our in-house consultant. But they didn't come in until about 4:30, 4:45 this afternoon. So we've not had time to open them up and pick them apart and make sure that he's got all the holes filled.
Andy, I think my question is more along the lines of the next GMP that comes in front of the board, is that all encompassing of the project, or are we still looking at approving a GMP for bits and pieces of the project? Does that make sense?
Well, if you remember back, and I'm going to go back in history here.
Please do.
I'm not a history major, but I'm going to do my best. Our original contract was just a basic contract, some pre-construction services support going forward. And that as packages were developed for those prioritized needs, then we would put those out on the street, get the numbers in and bring them back as a GMP individually. So you were going to have anywhere from 6 to 8, I think, bid packages, GMPs to award for your entire bond program. Now, those bits and pieces that have been broken down have been reprioritized right now. So the bathroom is already done. Currently, we've got the power upgrade, number one, HVAC, which was that was the priority because that was brand new. Just got the drawings. It's been the mad scramble. So that's been our primary focus the last 2 weeks. Right behind that was the VOC, which we had numbers in on. We were comfortable with. We're still working on getting better numbers, but the all-encompassing GMP for the whole building has now been broken down into 2 more subcomponents. The warm shell, which was occupiable but not finished, and the cold shell that is just basically walls or roof. It's waterproof, it's secured, but it's not finished. And then after, let's see, in the middle of that, we've kind of morphed the original hallway and panel room into panel room only and repaving of that area that's been demolished for the hallway. That kind of floating nebulously out there. It's going to be a much smaller volume project than originally proposed. We can attach that to the power upgrade. We could attach it to HVAC. It seems to be developing a bit more of a priority after yesterday's meeting, especially to get the pavement back in so that we seal that area up and it's more accessible, especially for the shop class. The panel room that's in there is part and parcel of the power upgrade program, the original bid package number 1. So that's why we're thinking that ought to be added to that portion of the project of the bond program. Beyond those 3 or those 4 scopes, I think next in line was going to be the kitchen and cafeteria upgrade if there was funding available. And then I don't know what else was on the original wish list or desire list from the district side, but I think at that point the existing funding may not be existent or in existence to complete the full scope of those projects.
So I guess for Christine's question, are we gonna have the electrical and the HVAC GMPs both together on our next presentation?
Well, I think they're going to come in separately as we've been talking.
Well, I know, but I mean, we're gonna have those numbers so then we can vote on the VOC if we can get going on it.
That's my push right now.
Perfect. That's what we were checking on to make sure that
Because
they can be
we wanna-
separate.
We want to make sure that we have A, power, and then B, HVAC, where do we sit there? And if somebody's running a tally sheet on the side, we start with what's available in the bond, less the power, less the HVAC, what's remaining. And then of those 3 scopes that are out there and published right now for the VOC, which one can we afford? Which way can we?
Outstanding, Andy.
Yep,
Thank you so much for answering
that's
that.
exactly right.
That was what I was trying to understand. Thank you.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Andy.
I'm going to mute myself again.
Okay. That's all I have,
Alright.
Madam Chair.
All right, thank you very much. Are there any patron comments this evening? All right. Any board comments? Do you see that we have the OSBA annual conference reminder on here for anybody who wants to attend?
The one in Portland.
That is
There's
November 11th
one
through 13th.
spot, 2 spots.
Currently right now, there is 1 spot reserved for anybody who wants it. It's under my name, but I'll happily transfer it. So I will not be attending.
Well, I really want to, but I'm not sure I'll be able to yet, so
We can keep it reserved.
Do we know how long we, I know that,
I was gonna find out and I forgot to ask Shirley to find out how late is too late. I don't know.
we'll make a note of that so
Yep.
that we can make sure we.
yeah, because it really is gonna depend on the.
Okay.
So, but I would love to do that. I think
All right. Any other board member comments? All right. Agenda item 9 is the approval of minutes for July 14th, September 8th, and September 12th. Is there a motion to approve? Or any time to review?
Well, I believe I've read them. So I'll motion to approve the minutes.
All right, Deborah's motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
Robert is
All three
second.
of them?
Yes,
Okay.
unless anybody wants
Yeah,
anything pulled out.
unless you got something else in there somewhere.
So Deborah's motion to approve, Robert seconds. Roll call, Brian,
Yes.
Linda,
Yes.
Christina's a yes, Deb,
Yes.
Robert,
Yes.
motion passes unanimously. Up next, agenda item 10 is our first reading of policies. Do we have Miss Brooks on our meeting? I see her name.
Yep, I'm here.
Standing. Welcome,
Hi.
thank you.
Hi, Betsy. Let me
Hi.
kind of introduce this before we turn it over to Betsy. What you have in front of you is 3 different policies with 2 different ARs. Keep in mind, there's a difference between policy and the accompanying AR. The AR stands for administrative rules. The board is approving the policy, not necessarily the AR, which is more administrative, but they work together. And that's why I always bring them together to the board. So OSBA has 3 different policies, 3 different versions in terms of how to handle head lice that you have in front of you. That's the G1, G2, and G3 that you see there. Those are the policies. They only have 2 ARs, G1 and G2, that go with the G1 and G2 policy. They do not have a AR for the G3 policy. Are you catching my drift? It's kind of confusing.
So it's AR 1 and 2 goes with G1 and 2.
Yes,
But
and then.
AR 3 does not exist to go with.
Correct. There is no AR G3. So at the top of each of these policies, and keep in mind, tonight is just a first reading on these. We always like to do first reading. That way we can introduce it, we talk about it, discuss it, gives the board some time to think about it, get feedback if they need it. And then the second reading is usually when we try to approve these, unless there's still questions that we need to do a third reading on. That way there's plenty of time, because policies drive everything that we do. And it's really important that we have it right. And oftentimes, OSBA has a whole team of policy developers, and they have a team of lawyers that they assign to policy development also to make sure the policy aligns with number 1, state law, number 2, federal law, and then 3, usually best practices. But that's where there's bracketed language in there. Anytime you see bracketed language, that's up for the board to determine. I usually put a memo recommending certain language, attached to these policies, but because tonight we have 3 different versions, and these 3 different versions are kind of all over the place, I thought, well, I could have done 3 different memos, but no. We really need to hear from Betsy tonight. Betsy is our new registered nurse, school nurse. She's been doing a great job for us. We're so excited we have her this year. And so I'm going to kind of turn it over to her to talk to us and through these policies, because they're all kind of different. And she's also very well adept at what the current CDC recommendations are, current practices, those sorts of things. And so I'm really looking forward to her advisement with this to kind of give us some direction. So Betsy, I'm going to turn it all over to you. You ready for this?
Okay,
I think so. I'm going to share
Okay.
my screen just so everybody can see what I'm looking at because there are 3 policies. Okay, so you guys see my little comic here? Okay. Gotta start. I mean, everybody's probably itching their heads right now. So yeah, this is always a fun topic and I've spent all day looking into this. I've done this before when I worked for the school district, for the Lincoln County School District, and but policies and things change. So I decided to look into it again, and I was going over making brochures for each of the 3 schools I work for. Actually, I work for Eddyville and Silet's charter schools as well. And I noticed that the policy at Alsea is completely different than what Silet's and the Lincoln County School District and Eddyville use. So that made me want to say something about it because I don't want more kids to miss more time at school. We already missed a ton of school because of COVID. So, oops. Okay, so first off, this is what I follow. This is the National Association of School Nurses. And I've highlighted some information here and I can send it to anybody that wants a copy of this. This is just their statement of head lice management in school settings. And one of the big things in here is evidence-based strategies include abandoning the no knit policy, which we don't have that as a policy currently. But we want to stay away from that. No knit meaning kids coming to school and you see knits in their hair. So, oh, sorry, you have knits, you have to go home. We don't want to do that because then a lot of kids will be out of school. And it's often misdiagnosed by people as knits. It's often dandruff or even dirt or, I don't know, maybe pieces of food. I've seen that in little kids pretty often, breadcrumbs or something. And it's unnecessary for the absenteeism to lead to learning or missed learning opportunities for the student and potentially lost family wages due to the loss of parent and guardian work days. Because if we send a kid home in the middle of the day, a parent has to come get them and they have to stay at home with them. We already have a lot of this going on because every sniffle, it seems like we have to send home for COVID possibility. So we don't want to do that with lice too, especially when lice don't pose a disease problem. They're a nuisance. They're annoying. Some people, I mean, they're gross, right? Nobody likes this. It's kind of like fleas on a dog. Nobody wants to deal with it. Also, mass screenings for NITs have shown to be have no significant effect on the evidence of head lice in a school community, and they are cost effective. So having somebody come to the school and check every classroom for NITs. I remember back when I was in elementary school, we had days where there was somebody that would come in and check all the kids' head for NITs or head lice. And then that also is a problem because then you're creating a anxiety and a social stigma and embarrassment, and it's affecting the students, and it puts the students' rights to confidentiality at risk. That's a big one, the confidentiality. And treatment failures can also result from initial misdiagnosis, which I already talked about, and non-adherence to treatment protocol or a new infestation acquired after treatment. So sometimes parents will buy these like the Nix kit, or they'll buy a kit where they're putting pesticides on their kids' hair, which is okay in moderation if you follow the directions. But if you notice your kid is still itching, oh no, I should probably do that again. What you're doing is they're itching because of the head lice, and then you're putting a chemical on their head, which actually is irritating the scalp and it's making them itch more. And then a lot of times people have their kids get in the shower and it rinses all the pesticide all over their body, and pesticides aren't good for our bodies. So, okay, so unless you guys have any questions about this document here, I'm going to go ahead and move on to the policies.
So Betsy, it's hard for us to see that because of the size of the print. So yes, it'd be great if you could email that to Shirley and I, and we'll make sure we distribute it to the board. For their
Absolutely.
records.
Okay. Okay, so in this first one, this is, I think this is the one that I disliked the most. So this excludes a student infestation with either live lice or nits, and it does not allow attendance of a student with live lice or nits. This is
So,
very.
Betsy, what version is that you're looking at?
It is the JHCCF.
That G1?
Oh, I'm not sure where it says G1 at.
It should say in the title.
No, it doesn't.
I don't see it.
Oh, it just says version 1. That's what the
Version
G1
1.
is. Version
Oh,
1.
okay. Version 1. Yes.
Yes.
Sorry. Okay, so with this one, it says the board recognizes that district programs should be conducted in a manner that protects and enhances student and employee health and is consistent with recognized health practices. Consequently, in order to prevent the spread of pediculosis or head lice in the school setting, district staff shall institute guidelines for classrooms that will assist in the prevention of and the spread of head lice. A student with a suspected case of head lice shall be referred to the school nurse or administrator. So I think that's kind of funny, the administrator. Are you going to be checking Mr. Gallagher for head lice?
Yeah. No.
For an assessment. A student found with lice or nits, with live lice or nits, which are the lice eggs, will be excluded from school attendance. The district recognizes that the Oregon Health Authority Public Health Division no longer requires exclusion of a student for the presence of nits and allows the discretion of the district. A student excluded from school will be readmitted after an assessment by a designated personnel to confirm no lice or nits are present and may be subject to periodic checks. Successful treatment of head lice requires a coordinated approach and may involve the use of anti-louse products, combing, and implementation of preventative measures recommended by health authorities. Treatment information will be provided by the district to the parents of the students found to have contracted head lice. It's the district's intent to encourage elimination of the current infestation and to prevent a repeat episode. The superintendent will develop administrative regulations as necessary to implement this policy. So I personally do not see any pros in this policy. I mean, obviously, letting parents know that their child has head lice, there's a pro. That's it. The rest of them, they don't follow the American Academy of Pediatrics. They don't follow the Oregon Health Authority or the National Association of School Nurses or the Oregon Department of Education. So I don't, and this also isn't evidence-based. So this is my personal least favorite.
So Betsy, you have a better idea of the frequency of nits and lice that you're finding in hair. What would this potentially do to our attendance rate?
Oh, probably a majority of your kids would go home because nits, they're attached to the hair follicle, and whether there's a bug in it or not, or the nit is dead, you can't tell unless you get a microscope and you're really good and you know what you're doing. And I don't even know how to do that. So I think a good portion of your kids would end up home because most kids have had head lice at one time or another. And they'll still have the nit casings, if that makes sense.
Yeah, thank you.
Mm-hmm. And then again, this also affects the parents who will have to come and pick up their student, and then they have to try to rid all the lice and nits out of a student's hair. It's not done in one session. I have 4 kids and I have gone through this a couple of times. And to get all the nits out, you have to use your fingernails to do it. One of my daughters has really thick hair, really thick, kind of long hair, about my length, but it's super thick. And in order to get all the nits out of her hair, it takes hours, and she gets a headache. She gets dizzy. She doesn't feel very good from just standing and me constantly pulling at her hair for hours. My little one, she's got finer hair, so it's a little bit easier to go through her hair and get all the nits out. But it's not fair to the child, and it actually causes more pain to the child than the lice themselves. A lot of children don't even know they have them. So that's my take on that one. Any questions on that one?
I'd say on to version 2.
All right, let's do it. Okay. So this one is, yes, version 2. A student with a suspected case of head lice will be referred to the school nurse or administrator for assessment. A student found with live lice may be excluded from school. A parent of the student will be notified and treatment will be requested. Students with a severe infestation will be excluded immediately until treated. A student excluded from school that has been treated will be readmitted after an assessment by a designated personnel. The student may be subject to periodic checks.
Okay, so Betsy, I'm gonna stop you right there just as a part of procedure. Notice that we have two separate bracketed sentences. That means the board would want to choose which sentence to adopt. And could really not adopt any of those two sentences.
Yeah, I
That's-
don't,
That's what the that's what the brackets mean. It's total board discretion. So sorry, Betsy, I had to point that out.
I didn't know that, so I'm glad that you did. So the student may be subject to periodic checks. And I also forgot to read in parentheses right under version 2. This excludes a student with 10 or more live lice, and it allows attendance of a student with NITS with less than 10 live lice. Okay, so the successful treatment of head lice requires a coordinated approach and may involve the use of anti-louse products, combing, and implementation of preventative measures recommended by health authorities. Treatment information will be provided by the district to the parents of the students found to have contracted head lice. The superintendent will develop an administrative regulations and as necessary to implement this policy. I highlighted this where it says one of their places they got information from says the National Association of School Nurses, Pediculosis Management in the School Setting. This was the one that was revised in 2011. And if we go back to this right here, this was revised in January of 2016. So ODE is kind of behind. So the pros with this one is lice are really fast. And so the person assessing would probably not find the 10 lice. The cons, the policy will exclude children whose guardians may not be able to cope with the lice in a timely manner. It's not easy. It is hours of combing. This may result in increased anxiety, social stigma, embarrassment, and put students' rights to confidentiality at risk. This may also result in unnecessary absenteeism and may violate affected children's civil liberties. And it may also lead to missed learning opportunities and loss of family wages due to work days lost. It goes against recommendations from the American Academy of Pediatrics, the Oregon Health Authority, the National Association of School Nurses, and the Oregon Department of Education, that's who I follow. It's not evidence-based, and I'm not sure who really would want to try to count lice, and they move really fast, and it's based on old information. So those are my cons. Any questions on this one? And this is our current policy, by the way.
Version 2?
Yes.
Okay.
So this is the one right here that that Eddyville just did their first reading of this one last night, actually, and everybody seemed to be in favor of it. And this is what Siletz uses.
Are you talking version 3?
Version 3, yes.
Okay.
So in version 3, a student with NITS and/or infested with live lice will be allowed to remain in school. A student with a suspected case of head lice may be referred to designated trained staff for a screening. The screening will be done in a confidential manner by people who are trained personnel. School personnel will notify the parent or the guardian of a student that there was head lice found, and they'll provide information on an appropriate treatment, and the student will be allowed to remain in school. The suggested school measures for head lice control as provided in the head lice guidance published by the Oregon Department of Education and the Oregon Health Authority, the Public Health Division, shall be followed. So with this one, we are notifying the parent at the other schools. So at Siletz and Eddyville, what I do is I have a little lice kit that contains something to help get rid of the lice, which we actually use conditioner, and some good lice combs to comb out the lice and the nits. And that way we don't risk the issue of parents like thinking, oh, if I put the treatment on my kid's head and it says leave it on for 10 minutes, I bet you overnight would be better. And then they send them to bed with this stuff in their hair and they end up with a really bad inflamed scalp and shoulders and anything else that it touches. And it doesn't kill the nits anyway. Might kill some of them, but not all of them. Conditioner does not kill the nits or the lice. It just makes them slower so you can comb them out. And I have done this method on my kids many times. I did try a natural version of something that contained vitamin E that was supposed to make it easier to comb it out. For one, it was really difficult to remove out of my daughter's hair, and she had an allergic reaction to it. So she was really inflamed and itchy, and it was worse than the head lice themselves. My pros with this one is that the student will be able to remain in school and there's no increase in absenteeism. Family wages aren't in jeopardy for something that's just a nuisance and not something that causes disease. And it's used in other school districts and charter schools nearby. It follows the American Academy of Pediatrics, the Oregon Health Authority, the National School Nurses Association, and the Oregon Department of Education. It decreases anxiety and stigma and embarrassment for the child, and the student health remains, their health file remains confidential, and it doesn't violate student civil liberties. The cons is that it might be difficult for some people in the community to make the change, to see the change, because it makes people anxious. Either way, it makes people anxious. So,
Betsy, I'm noticing this is referencing the 2016 document you were talking about earlier.
yes.
So this has been, this is reflecting the most recent practice recommendations. Is that what I'm interpreting?
Yes, that is correct. So,
but this would be a change for our district.
yes, it would. So one thing you might think is like, so great, the kid that always has head lice and the parents can't control it, they're just going to come to school all the time and the parents are never going to take care of it. So some things that we can do is reach out to the parents and offer them help. I know that we have we actually have some Nix, which is a solution that you put on the hair to kill head lice. There are some donated boxes that we could give. We just risk the child being burned. So we really want to do some good education on that. And I also have a flyer that I've used at all the other schools that states how to handle it, how to handle the use of the pediculicides or conditioner, and the life cycle of the lice and how to stop it. So education is a big piece here.
Can I interrupt you really quick?
Yes.
And ask a question?
Mhm.
In the handouts that are provided in the districts that you're working in, are those handouts also referencing how to handle home care of sheets, linens, couches, all of the other pieces that we, if not handled correctly, can continue the occurrence?
So the funny thing with that is actually head lice are spread head to head. If they fall off of the head, they're probably dying anyways. And if they aren't dying, they will die within a day. They can't live off of nothing. They have to have a blood source and they have to have heat, and they are also humidity is a really important thing for them too. So if they fall off the head in the student's bed, in the child's bed, the child goes back to bed, the sheets, that you don't need to change the sheets. I mean, I always have because it makes me feel better, but you don't need to do that. A knit away from the head, it's going to die. It's not going to live long off of the head. One thing I would definitely recommend is if you do a treatment on your student, then you make sure their clothes come off and it gets washed. You take the clothes off, change the clothes after your treatment. But yes, those are old. That is old information. How we used to bag up everything for 2 weeks. The first time my kids got head lice, I took all their stuffed animals and put them in my basement. And then about 2 years later, I threw them away because we didn't need them, obviously. So.
That's what we call decluttering. But
Yes.
okay.
Yeah. Hey, my daughter learned her ABCs too, because I sat there combing her hair singing them. So yeah, that's how she learned ABCs.
Thank you for that.
Yes. And I can actually send you guys, I watched this video. This is funny. It's actually from the EPA. So it's a good source. And it has a couple of expert panel discussion on head lice. it's really interesting, and I learned some more things. I thought I knew quite a bit about head lice, and I learned more on it. So I will send a link to if you guys are interested in watching it. It is kind of long, but I have some notes I can type up and kind of and send to you so you know like where to listen. Important things I thought were good to hear.
I think that'd be useful information. Thank you.
Yep.
Any
Any
questions?
other?
Betsy, was there anything else you want to present or?
I think that's about it, unless you guys have questions. I also have a resource link too that I can send you guys the link to from the EPA. I don't know why the EPA has so much information. Well, it's part of the IPM management. So I don't know. They have a lot of information on head lice.
Yeah, so I think all that information will be very useful.
Mhm.
Any questions for Betsy while we have her with us?
Thank you for sharing the information.
Yep. Thank you.
Thanks, Betsy.
Thank you. See you tomorrow.
All right, we will move on to action items. The first action that we have up is to approve a calendar day to include a school day.
Yes, Madam Chair, when we fixed the calendar issue, we forgot to declare that. It says the board recently approved a change to our school calendar to reflect a holiday on January 2nd instead of a school day, since January 2nd is a federal holiday. Unfortunately, we forgot to add in a new school day to make up for the day we changed to a holiday. Keeping with how we do holidays that fall on Mondays on Friday of that week. So the suggestion would be to add a school day on Friday, January 6th, 2023. It was just an oversight.
I'll make the motion to approve a calendar day to include January 6th.
Second.
All right, any discussion, Ryan?
Nope.
Linda?
Nope.
Deb?
Nope.
Robert? Okay, I do have one question. Did we evaluate our teacher's contract calendar also with that? Because we've accidentally messed that part up.
Nope, we're good.
Okay. All right. Vote. Robert?
Yes.
Linda?
Yes.
Deb?
Yes.
Ryan?
Yes.
Christine, yes. Motion passes
Thank you.
unanimously. Oh, we did have superintendent search calendar on there. Look at us. being
Yes, we did.
efficient.
Look at that.
All right, so the second action item is the approval or adoption of the superintendent search calendar.
I'll make a motion. We adopt the search calendar. For the
Right.
superintendent.
Have motions to adopt the superintendent search calendar.
Second.
Ryan seconds. Any discussion, Deb?
Nope.
Right. Linda? Robert? All right, let's vote. Robert?
Yeah.
Deb?
Yes.
Christine is a yes. Linda?
Yes.
Ryan?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. Next up is to adopt superintendent goals presented earlier.
Make a motion to adopt the superintendent's goals that's been presented.
All right, Deb
Second.
Motions, Linda seconds. Deb, any discussion?
No.
Linda?
No.
Ryan?
Nope.
Robert? Okay, we vote. Robert?
Yes.
Deb?
Yes.
Christine is yes. Linda?
Yes.
Ryan?
Yes.
All right.
Thank you.
And next up is to declare the vacancy of the superintendent effective July 1st, 2023.
So I'll make the motion to declare vacancy as of July 1st, 2023.
Deb motions,
Second.
Ryan seconds. Deb discussion,
Nope.
Ryan? Robert? Linda? All right, we'll vote. Robert?
Yes.
Deb?
Yes.
Christine is yes. Linda?
Yes.
Ryan?
Yes.
All right, and we can scratch action E as we already approved the executive search calendar.
Perfect.
That takes us to our executive session.
Yes,
Which I thought I had an ORS on, but I don't see it
Something
now.
happened to it.
But this is to consult legal, correct?
Yes.
Okay, hold on a second.
Let me find
Thank you.
the number, sorry. Just noticed it wasn't there. Yep.
Okay, so we're gonna
it's-
go into executive session to just.
Yep.
To consult with
Um,
counsel concerning legal rights and duties of a public body with regard to current litigations or litigation likely to be filed, ORS 192.660H.
2H.
2H. Thank you. At 8:35 PM. Back in open session at 8:46 PM. There's some key dates coming up, a board retreat this Saturday, the 24th at 12, from 12 to 4 PM. We have homecoming coming up the 26th and 31st. If you've seen Mr. Clendenon's email asking for volunteers and help. If not, read your email and definitely reach out to him. Our next board meeting will be October 13th at 7 PM. And with that, we can adjourn.
We have a.
Oh, I said that.
Yeah.
Work session. I said our board retreat, our work session on that.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if you're gonna read all the dates or
Oh,
not.
sorry.
It's up to you.
Teacher workday, October 14th. In service, October 21st. Picture retakes will be October 26th. We'll have another regular board meeting on October 27th. That is also an early release student day. And then student conferences are October 27th and 28th. We will adjourn our meeting at 8:47 PM. Thank you.
Nice job, everybody.